Well, hello, everyone. Good to see you, Cindy. Others have logged on a little bit early, get us a chance to warm up, make sure the technology works. I'm new to this whole going live thing. Hopefully my head doesn't explode or whatever else happens. I'm very, very excited to speak with you all today. It's been a long time coming, this particular webinar. If you want to send me a note before the actual 4 p.m. start time, as people are filtering in, maybe I can practice typing back and forth like I see them doing. Let's see here. Anyway, I'll go ahead and ramble a bit and we'll wing it. One thing about this whole creating a new earth and escaping the matrix thing is that there's a lot of trial and error, experimentation, a lot of frustration. Because let's face it, there's a lot of people who really don't want this to happen. They've got their faith invested in the old system, and it's a hard time for them. But nonetheless, it's been quite a journey. Hello, we got some new people. Hello, Thelma. It's been an exciting journey learning to get my shit together so that I can battle the robots and still be articulate and stay in a good mood and this, that, and the other. The course and the paradigm that I'm going to speak with you guys about today is, I don't even know where to begin, but basically, I spent my life feeling that there was some sort of a simple E equals MC squared that would help me make sense of this damn world. And by the age of 40 or something, I finally figured it out. It's a map of the mind I call the voice code that really integrated everything that I'd ever learned before. And it took me a couple of years, but I eventually turned this sort of quantum age, natural laws-based map into a curriculum that would allow us to accomplish miracles, to shift into miracle mode. If you guys are like me, you probably have seen a lot of things in your life that don't fit with the laws of physics as the world taught them to you. And for me, I guess I just wanted to live in that magical world and be able to succeed as an adult. Eventually, I figured out how, and then it came to me learning how to bring this to others. I had no idea how many forces are rallied against us, really wanting us to fail. To me, that mindset's so foreign, I guess I was naive. But the last, 10 years or so, it's 2012, I made the discovery. I think that's when those forces started really getting on my butt. So it's been about 12 years now to really kind of figure out how to navigate these waters and use this discovery in my day-to-day life and be able to stand for it and bring it to others so that there isn't too much interference. That being said, I won't be surprised if there's a little bit of interference today. There's already been some just trying to get my internet connection solid. It totally crashed about 15 minutes ago, but then I cleared my mind, I called in some support from the divine, and it seems to be working. But I do appreciate you guys, early adopters, being patient and understanding with me as I wing it here, and we pave our way through this wilderness to anchor this new earth in a really formal way, in a way that has never been done before. So, this is exciting. It's almost so staggeringly exciting that it's hard to imagine that it's real, right? We're sitting here now on, what is it today? May, I don't even know what day it is, see? Mad scientist. Einstein apparently had to paint his door pink to figure out where he lived, so, I guess I'm in good company. It's Friday the 14th, May 14th, and this is now officially launching. The first time I've been able to sort of bring this to the world in a way that is going to be ready to succeed. And so you guys who are here are a privileged group. And in my understanding, a very powerful group, very brave group, and a very qualified group to even have made it to this point, because there's been a lot that came before this. In one of my videos earlier, I talked about, Jesus came along about 2,000 years ago talking about the harvest, and people think that was a long time ago, right? If you look in macro cycles, that he was coming at the end of the third, I believe it was 24,000 year cycles. So like it's a 72,000 year cycle that we're ending right now. And Jesus came at the 70,000th year. And we are now at year 72,000. And so this is big. big, epic kind of change. So big that words fail to do it justice, and it almost doesn't pay to overthink it. But it does pay to maybe for a minute at the beginning here for us to really acknowledge the epic nature of the energies that are swirling about here, because that'll give us the patience and the motivation to sort of recognize that it's worth pushing through and being a part of. I mean, it's a life-changing opportunity to come together and be leaders, paving the way to anchor this new Earth frequency in a way that can't be demolished. You know, you look at history, and so many people have come up with good ideas, and they sought to bring them to the world. And maybe they had some success for a while, but then either the idea gets co-opted and watered down and turned into its opposite, which is, I believe, what happened to a lot of Jesus's message, or it just gets crushed. People get killed, right? And then their legacy gets reframed into something bad. Well, I believe where we're at now is where that's not going to be able to happen anymore. I believe the nature of the shift that we're going through now is to actually permanently clear a lot of the programming that would poison and then reverse the gains of the past. You know, we talk about matrix escape, right? Well, you know, it's kind of an escapist way of framing it, but we all know we're born into a world where we're really happy, and kids, look at them, you know, before they get poisoned by this, they're powerful and creative and filled with joy. And then we're programmed to get into this horizontal mindset of lack, where we're going to seek and seek and seek to get money or some other thing so that hopefully we can be happy again. Well, the simplest way to understand the program that I'm offering is it's a return to happiness and the capacity to thrive financially, socially, and otherwise, without, you know, letting go of happiness. And in fact, happiness being the fuel for it. And a simple way to put it is to find and follow our calling. But what is our calling? But ultimately to be who we are and we're born to be, that innocent, radiant, joyful essence that we carry with us as children and that so many of us lose as we get older. The technology, I call it, right, of consciousness that I put together to create this course, this 36-day course I've been talking about, what it does is it restores our natural operating system, but in a way that allows us to be practical. It's intentional and goal-directed. And it allows us to align with the natural laws that orchestrate the evolution of people and societies and consciousness in order to become a force of nature. But interestingly, we become a force of nature not through trying, it's through trying less, it's through relaxing into the present moment and in taking what happens as an opportunity to clear that programming, right? So what I want to do in this call is maybe just share a little bit more about this 36-day adventure, how and why it works. If you came, then that's because you obviously believe there's at least something real here, and you were able to feel that intrinsically. So I don't need to convince you, but it doesn't hurt to give the mind a little bit of an understanding of what it's getting into, and so that we have a shared language. A lot of, I think, the challenges we face are because of language. The way that our language has been structured is in subject, object, verb, almost all looking at the world. And so we haven't been given much in terms of language to allow us to really understand the inner world and landscape and how to work with that, which I believe isn't a coincidence, because the inner world and understanding how to work it is the whole secret. We were not born to slave to anyone. We are born to be sovereign creators of our own reality, and we have that potentiality in a way that no one can take, ever, without our permission. But lacking a language and a clear scientific cause and effect based understanding, or at least a framework, we, even the brightest among us, end up habituating to an unsatisfying situation, and we lose our way. So if there's anything, I don't know, remarkable about me, it's probably just the fact that I refuse to do that. I mean, I'm 51 now, you know, and I just can't sell into that system. So I had to find a new one. And I'm very happy that I got to the place where I could finally figure it out, put it into place, and then use that technology to reverse age myself back to the 30s, because that's how I feel, right? To where, like, now I can have the life that I wanted. And I want to thank you guys for trusting your gut to show up and hear me state my case. I have a sense that those of you who are on the line now are going to be part of this dream team. And so let me tell you, I'm going to talk about it here. We'll talk about the 3 principles that govern the process. We'll talk about just, the 6 steps, and I'll give a draft of sort of an intention statement that maybe will guide us. We may revise it a little bit. But let me just tell you about the experience. There's a 36-day course that I put together that makes all of this just actionable by getting up and doing an exercise in the morning, saying a couple things, doing a little exercise. 6 days, Monday through Saturday. And then on Sunday, you just relax and actually feel great because you're establishing momentum and you sort of receive, you might say, the energetic benefits of the work you did the prior week. This process, first week is fun. You go all in. Second week is way more fun. The third week is you're high on life, man. The fourth week, you're in love with life. The fifth week, it's like completion and you graduate like you're a wormhole. It is cumulative. You see, that's the thing. It's about consistent actions, small, consistent actions over time with this high quality of intention is what topples the matrix and sets us free and liberates us from the false constraints of the matrix overlay glasses that we can't help but be wearing at some level all the time, even if we've done a lot of inner work, because it's all around us and it's been reinforced at every turn. Even when we get off this call and we go to the convenience store, there it is, right? So it takes a lot of dedication to really remove those glasses, and even the smart of us who get this intellectually have a hard time removing them because the process is one of experience and moving through, and of inner reflection and of reframing the world so that when we do get triggered, we see that as, oh, great, and we assimilate, transmute, and reclaim the inner gift from the outer attacks, right? That's what this system does. This process and the sequence that you move through week by week actually is one that I derived from the voice code map. And what it does is it has us constantly be reframing, right? And in a sequential way, so it's not overwhelming. But basically it inverts the ordinary outside-in point of view, and it puts us firmly in that driver's seat of consciousness where we recognize our own inner authority, where we move from our own inner resonance, right? And where we act from trust in ourselves as we move through the world. And when we do that, magic happens, right? It's really amazing. And the cumulative nature of it is much more about feel and like dancing, like music, than it is about like, let's do this 36-day thing, and at the end I'm going to get this. No, it's more fun than that. It's actually, we're going to transcend as a group this sense of separation and get into a really fun collaboration, which is energetic. First time I ran this course, I had 3 really passionate clients who came with me, these executives, and we could sense something bigger was about to happen, but we didn't know what it was. Well, by week 3, these people who are pretty cynical, actually, I wasn't as open about the spiritual or religious aspects of my work then because I was trained to be a scientist, and that's the people who like me. He doesn't get into that, right? So these people didn't really like the spiritual stuff that much. And so I tried to, at that point, I tried to give them what they wanted. I was still thinking I had to manipulate, I guess, to get by. But, by week 3 or whatever, all that was off the table. Everyone was getting it. We didn't talk, everyone was getting it. And we would have group calls once a week, and we were able to actually stay connected. So this cleared the hyperdimensional overlay and allows immediate, self-aware recognition of our unity. And it's a joyful recognition where even people who are strangers across the country on a call who never met each other and who normally wouldn't even necessarily have something to talk about, were just joyfully recognizing that sense of oneness as oh yeah, that thing that we'd forgotten about. And it's just really great because it creates this awareness of our inherent unity, which preceded our meeting each other and will be there even if we never talked again. And that plane of shared being, of unity, is really what makes life invigorating. It's really what I believe the matrix overlay has caused us to doubt and lose access to. So this process creates wonderful, powerful bonds and the capacity to download spiritual gifts and even share them if you want in a totally safe way. There's no threat that can enter into those dimensions, and it allows us then to anchor that oneness into our day-to-day lives and become a sort of a conduit for it. So, your magnetizing skills, your charisma, your clarity, it all gets a quantum upgrade through this. All that being said, it's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. When we're used to running a certain voltage through our human system, and you guys are all already in touch with the spiritual plane if you're here, but it's like we get used to a certain voltage and this ups it. So a lot of years I had to spend learning to anchor this for everyone. It's my job to really anchor it for everyone. Because on that shared plane, you can benefit from it even if you're not aware of it. We're unconsciously connected, right? So safety is always been like essential. And that's, I think, one of the reasons it's taken so long for this to be ready, for me to be ready, I guess, to really anchor this, because it's extremely powerful. But we get the support of the universe, right? And people who aren't ready for this ride, they don't even really want to be here. It's too scary. So I've learned to trust the universe and not be too cautious. But I do want you to know, we're talking about profound transformation here. And anchoring the new earth frequency, which I didn't know that's what I was doing when I first signed up. Well, I want to anchor the new earth. That language didn't come to me till last week. That's exactly what this is. I've learned a lot about the occult since I first made this discovery of the voice code in 2012. And I've learned a lot about macro cycles, things I would have thought were kind of wacky before. And I understand, like, in terms of astrology, what we have here is an era where what's called Pluto, which is a powerful, transformative, like underworld kind of energy of positive change, but no BS, man. It might be associated with Hades, right? That energy associated with what's called Aquarius. I don't know what your background is in this. I don't want to overwhelm you, but Aquarius is air, and it's associated a lot with Archangel Michael, and that's a universal brotherhood. So what's happening right now, and what began happening last year when I launched this channel, was that Pluto dipped its toe in Aquarius, right? The air. Think about it. The underworld meets the air. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that the glass ceiling that caused us to believe in this narrow construct is being shattered and transformed. And spiritual information's coming down. And people who seemed like mad scientists before, you're weird, like me, are the leaders of this new world. Wacky ideas that seem impractical are now going to become commonplace. And those of you who are here in this, you're leaders of this, right? Because you've had to learn to own that side of you and be okay with it and swim in these waters, because a lot of people are going to go crazy. And maybe you guys have noticed. A lot of people are going crazy, and a lot of darkness is showing up, and people who maybe you didn't realize were that dark, right? This is an era where the dark is being brought to light, and those of us who understand and have done some shadow work and know how to transmute that are going to benefit through it. And those of us who are unwilling to make that choice and let the light in, they're going down now, and that's what I call the karmics in a lot of my videos. And so navigating these waters, this new course and this new paradigm and this language is extremely well suited for this new era just now unfolding, right? And it's still just now unfolding. Pluto is still right there at the beginning. It's a 22,000. It's a 22-year cycle. So the completion of that 70,000-year cycle, 72,000-year cycle that Jesus talked about in year 70,000 is, I believe, about the next 22 years. That's what we're looking at. And this course that we're going to go through, this paradigm that I'm going to be offering and training on the system, its platform, and however I can, is designed to help with this shift. It's uniquely designed to do so because it acknowledges the quantum nature of reality, that there is no objective external reality apart from the observer, that we're co-creating that through the act of observation. And as a young scientist who didn't believe in any of this stuff yet, in the early 90s, at the University of Florida, I got into this crazy quantum physics stuff. And I was just enamored with the idea of how that this was the truth of material reality, that light, for example, wasn't a particle or a wave. It was what the experimenter decided to, how they looked at it determined what they got. That's true of the social world as well. And this system is, I looked for it and couldn't find a system that allowed me to co-create reality that way. And this system allows us to start to do that. And I think that's what we have to do. today. The traps of being a quantum co-creator in this new Pluto and Aquarius reality, completing a cycle, are immense, but the opportunities are immense too, because we can manifest brilliant, wonderful things relatively quickly. The challenges of the past were that people would either be not spiritual at all, and they focus only on the external and trying to get things done, and they compartmentalize their spiritual side, or they don't have one. They doubt that. That obviously doesn't work. Or for maybe some of you may have been like me, the challenge was you had a deep connection to something spiritual that you knew was real, but how do you integrate that into your life? And sometimes maybe there's a tendency to go inward with it and not share it with the world, because the world will make fun of you or whatever, you'd be vulnerable. This system overcomes that. We have to actually, it's a both and kind of thing. And when you get into this, you get into paradox. When you get into paradox, you get into propositions that are mutually exclusive, both being true in the head, right? And the mind explodes. And that's why this system is so much not about the intellectual content. And even though I may seem intellectual because I'm talking, right? I can't dance with you on here, right? So I'm not intellectual at all. My mind, you'll see, is constantly creating paradoxes for you, point, counterpoint, because I want to pull you into the experience. The experience is what gets us there. It's like a river. It's going to take us. It's a wonderful river. And I'm so excited to have you guys in my raft. So let's talk a little bit about this course, this sort of 36-day experience that I'm prepping us for. And there's still a little legwork. I want to have calls with each of you, make sure everybody's on board, and because I don't want anyone to get overwhelmed. That can happen. I want you guys to know, I had some crazy experiences with the first 30 people who went through this. People's lives changed. I had people who went from a disgruntled employee to owner of the company, hanging out with their favorite celebrities in a month. But then next thing you know, I had one guy who was suddenly catapulted from poverty to fame in world traveling, but then he got arrogant and inflated. Next thing you know, he's eating out of a trash can on Venice Beach, California, because he wasn't really committed to the process. Once the power came in, he got cocky. Right. So you and I are going to need to have a talk about, make sure that we're connected and that there's clear agreements, so that you don't get either overwhelmed with the power, or that so that we have the right setting to make sure that you're protected from inflation or overwhelm in any way. That being said, I don't think you would be here if you weren't ready. I'm at a stage right now where I'm not getting sent a lot of people who aren't ready anymore. So let me talk a little bit about this course and the principles that run it. And I would highly recommend you guys to pick up my book, The Voice Code, at Amazon, because it dives deeper on all of this, and it'll give your brain something to really, it took me forever to write that. But, we have these words, and I have a glossary in there, which gives you new words, right? So that book offers the words that can be very helpful to have the language in order to row this boat. Now, it's not ultimately about the language, obviously, but it doesn't hurt, right? That book lays out a lot of the frequencies. And I guess for that reason, people who weren't ready found it unreadable. Or I could blame, the occult and black magic. That's always a good target. It's not me, it's them. So the whole thing runs 3 principles. That's how simple this is, right? This map, it's my whole life and all this complicated 3 principles covering the whole thing, and always have, according to this map. Authority, resonance, and trust. ART. Look, it even makes an acronym. You see, I went overboard on the book in acronyms. Oh, look, I can create acronyms. What do you do? But the first is authority. And authority I define as the capacity to create through choice. In the old world that we're now leaving, right, authority was framed as external, right? So the power to create through choice was external. I got to get buy-in from the authorities. I can't have a cookie unless mommy says yes, or I can't have money unless, I don't know, some other authority says yes, or whatever. External authority is the frame of the old world. And that frame runs deep, right? As much as I've written a book and been through this course and cleared everything, over the last few months, I've still been battling attacks from external authorities. I don't want to get into it too much, but it's like they have this thing where they call and they try to get local police to try to find a reason to get a warrant on me. They want me to shut up, right? And I understand that I have internal authority and that I'm linked to divinity. But when I see a creepy cop cruiser coming around me, there's something in my gut goes, what the fuck? That's a little scary, right? So I've had to really integrate this stuff in order to reclaim my divine authority and trust, right? So that I'm not susceptible to falling into these shadow dynamics. So I'm saying this is intense, right? It goes down straight to the gut ultimately. But the principle of authority, when we reframe it, which is what we're going to do in week 1 of this course, is about the reframing as internal, the ability to create, right, by choice, right, your desired future, which in this context, we're going to align around a common vision statement, which I'll try to read a rough draft that I put together here before we get off this. But basically, the authority to commit to anchoring the frequency of the new earth and activate and unleash your highest gifts in the service of your heart's greatest vision and calling, right? And in the service of the whole, something like that, right? Really embracing the fact that that is choice. You can choose to do that. Now, where in the traditional matrix is somebody going to come and tell you, you have the authority to take all power away from me and live your life straight? And I encourage you to do that. Well, you find it here, but I'm not in the conventional matrix anymore. No one says that because everyone is battling for power because that's the nature of that language, right? Well, we're going to reclaim that. The new earth is all about inner authority. And even your kids, if we will learn to train them to honor their inner authority, right? To create what it is they came here to create, right? And then, so there's like a lot of implications of this, but authority being reframed from external to internal is one of the key functions here. And we're going to work on that in week 1. The next principle that flows from inner authority, having made a powerful choice to create this new reality, which we're also doing this at a group level, is resonance. Now, resonance comes pretty naturally, especially if you've studied the law of attraction stuff. Resonance is a frequency, has to do with frequency matching, and it's the principle of like attracts like, and opposites attract. It kind of works both ways. We'll get into that in more detail. But when we reframe authority as internal, the question then becomes, what am I called to create? Right? Once I understand that I can create whatever I want and that I'm called to do that, that's actually my calling to be a sort of example of God on earth, right? The Christ, whatever language you want to use. I don't get caught up on words. But then the question is, what do I really want to create? Most of us don't know what it is we really want to create because we've never given ourselves permission to own our authority, right? So in no matter how much we tried, it can be hard because to really give ourselves permission to own our authority, we've got to anchor that, which takes power. So this process is moving us through that. And I'm not going to say in 36 days you're going to completely have reframed all these, but you will pop through to a new layer of embodiment of these 3 principles, and you'll be living it. And then you have the opportunity to keep doing that if you want. This process I'm going to go through, Create 36, is ultimately going to be an engine that people are cycling through all the time. It's like going to the gym. So like me, I'm going to be doing it with you. I've done this process, this course, 6 times over the past few years as I've been launching this. And every time miracles happen. It's what I do when I want to activate miracles, right? And I was getting bullied the other day. I got another video like taken off, which had no falsehood in it. And I'm just like, okay, fuck you guys, you're going down. Because their biggest fear has been that I'm going to launch this course. I didn't even know this. Everyone wanted me to think this course was worthless. No, it's the most valuable thing in the world. That's why they wanted me to think it's worthless. And I was like, okay, well, let's just go in. But you know what? It's so damn powerful. I was scared for a minute. I had a part of me who was afraid to go back into it. I'm like, oh no, right? Well, that was black magic too. Screw it. It's the most fun you can have with your clothes on or off. That's my contention. And I'm choosing that with my inner authority. Now, the resonance is, what do we want to create? And so we're going to, in week 2, get into that. And there's whole chapters on each of these in my book, The Voice Code. So please do grab it if you want to do this. I'm not obviously going to charge you guys for anything, but I want you guys to be motivated to really get the most out of it because I'm going to go in all in and we want to match there, right? So that'll help a lot. But resonance is like attracts like, right? So we're moving from inner authority. Then week 2, we're going to help to sort of integrate the principle of resonance in alignment with authority. So now you got inner authority to create what your heart calls you to create. The resonance principle is kind of like thinking with heart, letting the heart lead. Right? And then the 3rd week deals with trust. And trust is the principle of, let me talk about resonance for a minute. Resonance in the old world was, resonance with belief, right? That's the old world. What do you believe? Oh, you're a Christian like me? Well, we're together. Let's go kill the Muslims or whatever the hell, Democrat, Republican, even collective karmic. It's about belief. The old world, it was like, I resonate with what I believe and I attract those who believe like me. This new world resonance is a radically different beast. It's not about belief at all. It's about knowing. It's about inner experience, felt frequency. It's about the heart. So belief being about the mind coupled with the will to implement something, that's part of a regime of an old top-down authority. See? So resonance reframe becomes about what the heart feels and knows. Now, when you align that with inner authority, you can start to see how powerful this is. Anything you've ever created that you love came through being properly aligned with these principles. You'll see that. So what I'm doing is restating things you guys already know in one simple, coherent system, right? So, but it's helpful when we can make it this simple because you'll see everything else can hang around the structure. So authority, old school is like, it's outside. I got to get the authorities to buy in. New school, it's inner authority. I have the power to create their choice. Resonance, old school, is like, what do I believe? Do they believe that? Oh, they're bad. Or they're my friend. Neither of which is necessarily true. Belief's not leads to war. The new world, it's about resonance. What do I know to be true? And what do I feel called to create that would light me up, right? Like if I love a song, I don't have to believe something to love a song. I just love a song. It makes me want to dance, right? We're going there. Now, trust. And that's where the rubber meets the road, okay? And that's really what I've been working through with these issues, dealing with the creepy infrastructure to try to wrangle earth angels like cattle, is trust. Trust is almost coming down to the gut now, bringing it down into the gut. In the old world, trust was you just have to like trust in the pastor, whether or not you found evidence they were doing something, or the politician, right? It was about placing trust in others based on shared belief tribes, right? So survival, and then this is the history of humanity as we know it. So I'm not trying to dismiss it. It doesn't overturn quickly, but that's the nature of what's happening right now. Is that our trust is being reframed at a collective level. I mean, that's Pluto, right? That's the deep stuff here. And trust in this new world is trusting our inner authority and what we're called to do as our guidance for action, rather than trusting in fear, basically, and what the world says we can't do or shouldn't do. Right? So authority, resonance, and trust. The first 3 weeks of this process focus squarely on helping us get properly aligned with those principles in the name of the mission that we're taking together to anchor the new earth frequency and unleash our potential, reclaim our inheritance, in the service of our life's calling, right? And we're going to do that together and collectively. And the other weeks deal with other principles related to kind of pulling the cycle full circle. So authority, resonance, and trust. Deep principles, each of them. And when we are properly, what I would contend to you is that when we are properly aligned with an internal authority frame, with an inner heart-based resonance frame, and with our gut and our animal self, which is beautiful, by the way. That's part of the new philosophy here. It's not to be enslaved, it's to be trusted. It's the dancer. It's the beast. It's wonderful, right? When it aligns now with the heart that has that internal authority frame, that's when you become the chosen one. That's when you, like Neo, stop the bullets. Every single person here has the ability to stop the bullets, right? To jump into the Matrix Ops, if you saw that movie. That movie had a big impact on me in '99 when I saw it, right? We're all the chosen one, and we're awakening now, right? And when we're aligned with those principles, we're fully awakened. And the only reason that we're limited in any way right now is because very few people have aligned with those principles properly. This process that we're going to go through helps us align with it. And once we get that, we start to really like it. And we start to master these principles. And eventually, we realize we can, it's like a lucid dream. We can have whatever we want. And we just sort of create the life we want. And when challenges come up that trigger us, we go, oh, wait, there's some attachment wounds I didn't know about. We don't run from it. We assimilate and transmute that, and it becomes a gift. So every arrow thrown at us becomes a flower at our feet, is how this ultimately goes. Now, my story has been very visible. I did not expect to be talking about all this crazy shit. I mean, never. I didn't even believe in this stuff until a couple of years ago. I didn't know there was a dark occult. But, what I think that's served to do and will serve to do as the news starts to come out about some of the validating a lot of what I've talked about, it's like I'm showing you guys my own journey, which is one of that. Every single arrow shot at me is turning into a flower right? And mine's visible, but it's the same story for all of us. It's just my role is to be the loudmouth and kind of stick my neck out first so that we have a good story to tell, I guess. I look forward to not having so much drama, but I'll stick it out as long as I have to. So that's the principles. Let me talk a bit about the 6 steps that we do this on a weekly basis. It's so interesting. It's so simple. I call it the CREATE process. CREATE. Create another acronym. This is a good one. You want to remember this one, right? CREATE. Each day we're going to do a different exercise around this 6-step process. Now, the 6-step process, understand, I derived it. Well, I'm still trying to figure out what I can share and be understood or not. But just understand, the map I discovered showed that there were 12 stages of consciousness. And it was based on someone else's research that I talk about in my first book. I completed someone else's research and found the algorithm underneath his developmental psychology system. And that was amazing because it allowed me to complete his model and see that there were 12 stages. And the 12th stage erased the first stage, and the 13th stage will be the return back to heaven, so to speak. So it was a scientific system that showed me the map in and through time all the way to transcendence. And then you look in mythology like Jesus, 12 plus 1, you see this everywhere. And I realized, like, holy shit, this was the basic math that was being spoken through all the mysteries and all that stuff. But basically, what was I saying? What I did is, knowing where it ends, right, stage 12, and then you, at the end of stage 12, awaken to realize that you're, basically the Messiah, the Christ or whatever. What I did is I thought, what path would your fully actualized self have to travel to get back to you at this stage? And so I basically reverse engineered from the end of time to now how to create a sturdy connection between that future self-actualized self and the current self who's at an earlier stage. I mean, I'm not at stage 12. I mean, the only one I know would be Jesus at this point who's staying there. But understand that your actualized self exists outside of time. So you're already there at that level. So what I did was I basically figured out the process that our creative unconscious, this plane of our unconscious associated with spirituality, I figured out the logic of how it communicates with us, and I created this process from that. So this CREATE cycle that we're going to use was derived specifically from mathematical points on a grid, right? And it ended up being 6 stages, and the 7th stage, that was all just math. And then I go, oh, look, the week, 7 days in a week. Isn't that interesting? Now, understand from my point of view, of course it is, because the world we're looking at is an outpicturing of this basic math. So it's like, I look at it that way. But here's the process, right? Monday, the C in the CREATE cycle is commit. We commit to completing that weekly cycle. That's it. Not to the whole big picture, just that cycle. So for example, there's a week 1 has to do with authority and reframing authority. Day 1, we commit, I want to reframe authority this week, all right? And we say a little thing, all right? Now, once we commit, then our Tuesday is reframe. That's when we start to now look at the world from the perspective of successful completion. Like, now that I've reframed authority and I've really committed to this, how do things look, and how does that future look? And what will the end of the week look like, or the end of this course look like? And you start to get excited and get inspired and start to resonate with that vision. Day 3 is explore. That's the E in the CREATE, right? Explore is where we are on the lookout and we're partnering with our higher self to find what patterns have been operating the backdrop within us that would keep that from happening. So for example, if I'm committing to being in my inner authority and I'm living into that vision, where are the parts of me that don't believe that that's possible or don't want that, right? And so we don't try to change them. We're just bringing awareness to them, right? And so that's sort of just objective reflection. It's like the sort of light shadow work where we're just looking, okay, interesting. Because obviously we weren't in our authority, or we would have already had the results we're getting. See, so Wednesday is just really an objective sort of reflection on shadows that might be blocking us. That's aided by the exercises that I give. Thursday is where we have the A in the CREATE cycle, which is assimilate. Thursday is the day where we take those patterns that we uncovered on the Wednesday, and we just sit with them and tune into them. Like, we're in conversation. Let's Let's do this. Now, maybe it'd be like if you're having a conversation with your partner and there's been some issue that, you hadn't been looking at, but you love each other. So you're just like, let's look at this, but not to fix it, to be with it. Assimilation is the process. The way I'm defining it is tuning into it to match that frequency. And what happens is a pattern could have been running us our whole life. And we never would have seen it if we hadn't made this commitment and then explored it, right? Now, what we do is we tune into it and bring awareness to it without wanting to change it. What happens then is that neutralizes the past, right? That neutralizes the pattern, not trying to fix it. If you're trying to fix it, you're not doing it right. And I have exercises for this. But basically, that neutralizes that pattern, which has been in our unconscious for a whole long time. And then what happens is it opens and we start to see there was a gift underneath that pattern. And day 5, which is Friday, right? You get off work, you get your check. If you have a job, well, maybe you don't. You guys probably don't. But anyway, that's the old school. T is transmute. So T on the trade cycle is transmute. That's where we, in a sense, turn the lead into the gold of alchemy, which really is just bringing in our heart to love the hell out of both the shadow character that we were afraid of and hiding from, and its heart, which is the gift that we had lost touch with through the programming of the matrix overlay, right? So let's say it's authority, right? You get a gift of authority probably that week. Like your unconscious will tell you, but and then you take it into your heart, and it's a very happy day. It's a very happy, liberating day. And then E, Saturday, is always fun, and that's about engagement embodiment. What's one simple thing you can do to celebrate the gift you got that week? Anything, and you don't overthink it. So this simple process is what you already did when you guys are processing stuff. But when we do it with a coherent, clear intention, in a systematic, step-by-step way, right? It breaks it down, and we're able to go really deep and also get really huge gains. And when you do that process 5 weeks in a row, right, you develop a momentum which topples, I don't know. I was about to say topples the Golden Gate Bridge. I'll tell you why. I saw the science program once said that scientists were saying that if a cat were to walk across the Golden Gate Bridge just consistently, cats don't walk consistently, but in theory, if you could get a cat to walk in a straight line on an empty Golden Gate Bridge, it would collapse. What's that about? He's saying it's because, the way the bridge is built, right? It's meant for these dynamic opposing forces, and just that consistent thing like that would be enough to topple it. Now, I don't know if that's true, but he seemed respectable, but it made a lot of sense to me because that's what this process does. It's like the cat walking across the Golden Gate Bridge. So it's like herding cats, what we're doing here. But when you sequence things like this in this way, it's really simple. 1 week, we reframe authority, CREATE. The next, it's very linear, but it makes it all simple, and it compartmentalizes things. And what happens is we unleash those gifts, and they start to accumulate, and then it shoots us through. And there's sort of a portal that opens, and welcome to the new earth. So that's the basic gist behind this 36-day course. 3 principles, 6 steps. You don't have to think about it. It boils down to, 30-minute exercise in the morning, right? Monday through Saturday. But here's the thing. If you guys decide we'll talk, obviously, and you'll be able to dive deeper and raise any concerns. I definitely don't want anyone going forward like with hidden concerns. There's no forcing here at all. That's not good. But the thing is, once we get into this, we got to complete it, or else it can be not good. It's like putting a cake in the oven and then taking it halfway out. We don't want to do that. We just want to make sure that if you're on board, that we just go all the way through to the end. And the cool thing is that we're sponsored. If I don't know what your relationship is to divinity, the invisible realms. But if you guys are comfortable with that, just know we got friends, man. That's pretty much all I've had. The best of friends, all the angels, right? Even the dark ones that are good work for us here. Because this is, let me give you, consider how the hell our world's going to change in a graceful way without something like this, right? Look at all the personal development and spiritual systems out there. I've tried, probably explored most of them. Well, there's a lot, but I've explored a lot, right, to get here. It's like there's no easy way to go through a transformation of this epic order, the other easy way that I know of. And even this way it's not easy, it's simple. It's as easy as it gets Because what we're doing is we're setting our sights on a really worthy, inspired goal that enlists the best of us, right? And that brings a light in. And then we're partnering with others of a similar frequency, which brings support. And then we're moving things one step at a time, not, so we're not overwhelmed, right? And we're building momentum so that that can pull us through rather than our ego. You see, it makes it about as easy as possible. The only hard thing about this is that, in that middle of that create cycle, we have to be willing to look and add and be with lovingly and transmute some shit that was buried in our unconscious. But we've arrived at that shit through an inspired vision. And we're already living in that new future when we do it. So it's not like, I got to look at this and there's another thing wrong with me and my life sucks. No, we're inspired more each cycle. So what I'm saying is this is easy as it gets to live the life of your dreams and let go of the past. Now, in one of my videos there, I talked about the 3 things we need to do to sort of anchor this new earth. One is completing karmic cycles of the past. That's what the blinders are. And in a sense, that's what the matrix operation programming is, right? Karmic cycles. So this process helps you do that, as you might be able to tell from just the logic of what I've said, right? And it's doing that allows us to really open and feel our highest calling of what we really want and move into that without fear, right? Because fear is part of those karmic cycles. And so that opens us to receive. And then that on a practical level is what opens us to receive our divine inheritance on even a material level. And one of the things I've found, and I'll bet when I talk to you guys, I'll find it too, is that a lot of us have a lot like money coming, like houses and money and literal inheritances coming that we didn't even know about. I mean, I've talked to like 20 people who've had this, and that is my situation as well. There's a big transfer of wealth that is destined to come to those of us in the collective right now, but it's been withheld, right? The system has been rigged, man, to try to withhold and block us from receiving. What this process does is helps us unplug so that we can receive it at the physical level through trust, right? Authority, resonance, trust at that level. And then when we receive it internally, we know naturally what to do, and things start to unravel in the external world to bring it to us, either through attraction or through new information. So this process is going to help you receive your inheritance that may be hidden. And it's going to help you clear a lot of the karmic actors who might be acting in your life, have been trying to, get in your face or whatever. If you've had them like I have and most of us in the collective, this will actually change that programming. And what's really trippy about this is if you're willing to get that we're in a dream right now and the world's an outward picturing of an inward condition, understand that by doing this create process, going inward, even those people out there, like my ex and some of the dark stuff, I told you about, part of sex trafficking, like abuse of my daughter. That's my dream, right? Those programs have to be in here. So going through this process for me is going to be me confronting the inner program that's led to some of these dark outer events, and I'm going to clear them with you. And by the end of this process, all that's going to be resolved. Like I already know that, right? So the outer world changes as we do this inner work. And this process is going to allow us to go back and forth between inner and outer with a language that we can use to just jet through this together. And what's great about it is this. Us going on this journey, through this wormhole together to anchor the new earth, creates the pathway, like the road for others to follow, even if they don't follow it through this process in the future. We're widening that road, you see, for others. And I spent the last 10 years hacking my way through it, and I did have some helpers, but you guys are going to be among the first who come through it without getting co-opted by the dark. I'll be honest, maybe it was a matter of timing or whatever, but a lot of the people who I took through the process, they had huge gains, but then when the course was over, they got bribed into whatever, turning against me. So I'm not worried about that anymore because there's not much of me left to be betrayed as far as being an ego. But just know it's like we're dealing with powerful forces here, more powerful than I realized. And there's a lot of people who don't want this to happen at all. They really don't want this to happen. Now, the reason I feel safe inviting you guys in now is because I've got this thing fortified. I wouldn't be allowed. I tried to launch this many times and it failed because I wasn't ready. I couldn't even be having this conversation if you guys weren't safe. So just know, as long as you're devoted to this process and devoted to me, you're absolutely protected by the same safety that I have. And I've got some of the biggest enemies coming up at me and right in my face nowadays. So you guys are safe. But it's important for you to know that. And it's important to know that it is also, something that they really don't want. And if you can think from the point of view of somebody who's been a, sort of a steward of the old matrix, who's got invested in their own inner authority and everybody coming to them and asking for permission, and being ruled by money as power, as and the other, well, you can see why they would hate something like this. I mean, I understand. I would hate it too, because what we're doing here is very Robin Hood, man. I'm saying you don't need them, man. Let's align with nature, natural law, right? Which I see as one with divinity, and let's create the world that we want. Buckminster Fuller from the 60s he was a cool thinker. He had some cool ideas. One of my favorite quotes is, he said, so true. He said, "We don't change things by fighting the existing reality. To change things, we create a new model that renders the old model obsolete." That's what we're doing here. Now the model's here, but without participation of other people joined like this, then it's just an idea on a shelf. And I had to put that on a shelf for a long time to be ready now to launch it. So I am excited as hell to have you guys here. And I'm feeling the energy right now. It's really good. So one of the things I've learned over these years is to feel directly into the energies and stuff, so I don't get caught in my head too much. So I think that, I showed up here wondering what I would talk about. And, I think I'm on 47 minutes now. I always have something to say. I feel like we've covered the basic ideas. I'm wondering, is there a call and response here for chatting? I haven't used this before. Oh, wait. There was a chat feature and I missed it. All right, guys. Hi. We are the Age of Aquarius. Yes. It's logging in. All right. The math is mathing. Thank you, Thelma. Sorry, guys. Appreciate your patience. I was so busy staring at your faces on the one thing, I didn't know the other. So, any questions now? Any comments just to share your point of view? One of the things I sometimes am bad at is I want everyone to share. I've got a lot to say, obviously, but I want to hear your point of view too. You guys are here for a reason. But are there any questions or reflections anyone wants to offer through the chat? And I don't know if you have the opportunity to speak aloud by unmuting. I know that exists on this platform, but it's not there yet. Well, I'm looking at the chat. If so, just let me know. I think I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in terms of like helping you see why I'm so excited about this and kind of how it works. And hopefully you're excited. If not, then don't do it, right? Because fear and excitement are very much similar. Like terror and enthusiasm are the same. It's just the mind's reinterpreting it differently. So hopefully you're enthusiastic at this point. Thanks. No comments. I'm in alignment. Cool. I'm not used to being around people who are on my frequency and get it this easy, but it's great. I want to get used to it. Here's what I want to do. I feel like we've got our dream team here. That's what it feels like. Will each of you guys reach out? If you haven't already, maybe if you're wanting to be a part of this, if it still feels like, well, let's go, then maybe send me your number through the direct message or wherever, and then I'll reach out to you. I've had some crazy technology stuff, man. Guys, they track through cell phones. And so I've had to look. I'm not going to get into it, but just know if I at all have seemed flaky, I'm not flaky at all. I've been navigating some people who don't want me to do this. And I've had to be a little move in silence. And sometimes I've been frustrated. They've been able to crash my system. So appreciate your patience. I do feel that all in thing. That's great. Here's what I want from you guys. Let's do it this way. Please each send me your email, a good, safe email for you, and your phone number. All right. And I'm going to have to use email for some of this. I think it might be the best way to go. Again, thank you for your patience with me. It's like I'm this visionary. I get this stuff, the day-to-day logistical stuff. I'm going to have to get at some point someone to help me with that. but I'm not terrible at it. It's just hard to be on all these cylinders at once. But I'm pretty conscientious, especially when we're running a course like this. I'm going to go all in to hold space for you. This is my life too. It's everything to me. So what I'm going to do over the next week is continue to try to have I want to have calls with each one of you, say hi, so we can merge voices and resonate that way a little bit, make sure we're all on the same page, answer any questions you have. So send me your telephone number in an email, please, address, and you can do it through the system, or if you want to, you can send that stuff to my email at findyourcallingfast@hushmail.com. I think that one's the safe one because I think that we're safe there. That one can't be hacked. I'll be careful of that. But and let's connect that way. And we'll have a call. And then we will begin this 36-day process either next Monday if we can, or it'll be, either next Monday if we can, or it might have to be the Monday after that. I appreciate your patience on that. It all depends on whether I can get all these calls in and make sure the ship is all ready to go. Okay, but we're going to do this, and I'm going to keep putting content out over the coming weeks to get us psyched up about it. Okay, and keep priming the pump. And I probably want to set up a group mastermind call at some point. If we don't start the course next Monday, then I'd like to maybe set up a call for those of us who are in this journey so that we can start to merge and hear each other's voices. All right, so I guess that'll do it for now. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. No questions. Email again, please. Oh, my email again, findyourcallingfast at hushmail.com. Findyourcallingfast at hushmail.com. Got a good little group here. I like you guys. I can feel you. All right. Oh, thank you. And actually, yeah. Just reach out to me there. I'm always trying to figure out what I can share and what I can't. I was going to give you my cell phone number, but then I realized I probably should just wait to hear from you guys on this. So reach out to me. Let me know that you're in, that you're still digging it. We'll set up a call, and that'll be our next step. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for showing up. I don't know if you can feel it. There's a good energy here. There's a lot of fun and power to be unleashed. So I'm really looking forward to it. Love you guys. Thank you. Take care, and I'll talk soon. Oh, one more thing. This was recorded, so this will be available. I'll make this available for people to watch if you want to revisit it. I know I will. I'll be like, oh my God, did I really say that? But I'll make sure that this replay is available as well. All right, guys, take care. Blessings. All right, how the hell does it end?